So we are on our Wednesday night call. It is the last day of May, May 31st, 2017. I got back from my Mexico trip. For guys who are part of our podcast, listening on the TSL Podcast or the Daily Awesome Podcast, and if not, subscribe to those. Man, thank you guys so much. It's been awesome traveling and having you guys with me. That's super, super cool. And of course, if you want to watch the video for this, or if you want to get the free stuff, because we give away a free PDF with every episode, and we have about 20 of those, so we put them in rotation. You want to click the link down below. That will show you where the video is, how to sign up on the Austin Men's Development Board, how to join our paid groups. Basically, like, you get a bunch of free stuff if you click the link down below that says free stuff and go there. So that's really the way to do it. We are talking about something that every guy gets at some point, and that's the beauty of these Wednesday night calls, which just started off at 8 p.m. Central Time. And the thing is that when you're hitting on a girl, all right, we're getting sexual, right? We're putting ourselves out there as men. There's going to be a point where women don't get it, all right? So there's a point where we're pressing and it's offensive to women. So you're being sexual and it's offensive. And we get the saying, which all of this is what started all of this, is we get the saying, man, is that all you men want? You just think about sex? Is that all you think about? Is that all you try and do? Do you just see me as an object? Do you just see me as somebody who is a hole to fuck or somebody to masturbate with, or all these different things? And women will always feel this. Okay, what's interesting and kind of the sad beauty about the richness of our groups is that when guys are in relationships, their wives or their girlfriends say this as well. And it's a part of this miscommunication and disconnect with sex. Guys, if you want to get good at sex, if you want to have a sexual life, you have to learn the language to deal with this. And it's very, very easy. Although, I'm going to say, if you're not used to it, like for instance, if you're talking to a girl at a bar and this comes up, then, well, for me, that's very easy to deal with. I get it like that. But that's one level of it. It's the same principle, but we got to take sex off the table, right? When that happens. And then let's say we're in the bedroom, all right, and this comes up. Man, is this all you think of me? Is just a sex object? Is this all men think about? You're like animals, you're like dogs, or whatever it is, right? And you're like, yes. So I'm very good at dealing with it there. When it comes up in a relationship, maybe you're dating somebody for 2 or 3 months or 2 weeks, and something comes up, they go, is this all you think about? Is this all I am to you? And very good at dealing with it there. In a longer term relationship, when you get in big fights, it comes up in just different flavors. So there's different ways to deal with it, but same principle. And such a great thing of being a part of a men's group, because we see men go through this phase of this language and have this principle be really true and alive in all those different phases of it. It's awesome. So very, very cool. More people in relationships now more than ever in our groups, and that's badass in our MD Excellence group. And again, if you follow the free link down below, that's there. So how this came about, and there's 2 actual situations where I want to talk about it, but on the call, a guy was saying he was hitting on a girl in a bar, and it came up, he's hitting on her, right? He's hitting on her. He's being a man. That's what you got to learn how to do. In fact, if you don't know how to hit on women and you don't know how to assert your sexuality, then you're doing something wrong. That's how you end up in the friend zone. That's how you end up not being taken seriously. That's how you actually turn women off, and turn them off in a way where they're not feeling sexual. And that's, oh man, that's just terrible. You don't want that. You don't want that at all. And so, but at the same time, we don't want to be men that are just these, oppressive males that hit on women without regard for them. We don't want people to feel bad. And so what he did was he backed off, like we all say to do. When people put up resistance, we back off, and basically we tell them something along the lines of like, hey, just chill out. It's all good. Actually, what he said was, he's like, well, hey, look, I'm a man. I'm a guy. You can't blame me. It's no big deal. Kind of laughed it off in a boisterous way. There's some personalities and personas that's a real good way to do it. In fact, for the guy who asked this question, not bad. But we have to add one more thing to it, right? Because the principle is this, is that when we put sex on the table, or maybe we don't think we've put it on the table, but it's sensed, right? When a girl's flag goes up, her wall goes up and says, man, that's sex fear. It's not that she fears sex. She wants it. All people want good sex. Every single person out there wants to have good sex. They just want it to be in a way where they're included, right? Where they have a choice, right? So we need to take sex then off the table so that choice can happen. Because right now, whatever we're doing, whether we're intentionally being sexual by touching or saying something or our presence alone or whatever it is, we are being it's too much where it's causing a reaction. So we need to take that reaction back. That all being said, when we want to think about this, we want to think about our process of 6 points of escalation. Now, if you guys are on our MD Excellence program, you can learn a thorough course on the 6 points of escalation on our Formula 69 course, but it's very simple. It's 6 phases, and they rotate throughout your social behavior and they rotate throughout your sexual behavior, but it's pretty much this. You show or state intent, you put intent out there, and this cycles throughout it. An approach could be showing intent. Also, going for a kiss could be showing intent. Also, getting a hand on your dick could be showing intent. So intent happens multiple times throughout a sexual interaction. But the first is to show intent. The second is acceptance and resistance. So there's the acceptance of that intent, then the tipping of the resistance of that intent. And then the third part is to define, comfort, and relax. Really normalize that. The fourth part is to then elicit some sort of expression from them. The fifth part, show arousal towards that expression, or show that you're favorable towards it. It depends if it's sexual or if it's social or not. But if it's sexual, then you show arousal towards that expression that they gave you, and then we escalate further. All right. And so these are some great ways to be able to move forward in everything that we do. Now, that all being said, people. All right. So I'm going to give you the example of what our guy on the call was talking about. And then I'm going to give you an example of somebody who was sexually escalating this weekend. And he actually had sex with 2 girls this weekend that were new. And he's very new at this whole thing. And how 6 points of escalation came to play at that. And I'm actually very proud of him because he hadn't had this. Like in his dating life, he was kind of a non-existent dating life. And then now he's actually getting sexually active in it. And it's kind of cool because as a guy, you wonder about those things like, how do we do this? Or what makes this work? And blah, 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 blah. So check it out. Let's say we're at a bar and we're talking to a girl, right? And we start stating intent. We don't know exactly what we're doing. Maybe we're standing a little bit too close. Maybe we say, man, you're hot. Or maybe we say like, God, you're just like, I want to take you home right now. Or we do one of the proverbial lines. This was said a lot, and man, this is a great line. If we're trying to get sexual, we're trying to hit those tones of sexuality. One of the best things that my mentor would say all the time, and God, it just transitioned into such a great line. But he'd be talking to a girl, and they'd be like really close, and you'd be sensing it. This was in the first 2-3 minutes of meeting him, but very close. He'd be sensing it. He'd just whisper in her ear, and he'd say, "Man, if nobody was here right now, I'd bend you over that pool table, and I'd fuck you right here." And of course, very intimate. Nobody else was hearing this. It wasn't loud. It was whispered in her ear. And she would be, oh my God. So when you do that, for some reason, you show too much sexuality. You blow them away, right? You're like, oh my God. What happens is at first they pull back for a second. This split second reaction. I'll try and imitate it, but it's like, and then they kind of normalize. And we want that normalization. All right. That's what we want. We want that normalization. And even they pull back like this, but then they kind of come back more relaxed, more. It's kind of a feeling of sensuality to it, very soft, like very feminine feeling that will happen. And it's like instant, man. It's within about 1.5 seconds that this whole thing will happen where they pull back and then kind of get a little bit doe-eyed. Now, that being said, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes they pull back and they're like, well, wait, is that all you guys think about? Is that all you think about? Is sex? Is fucking me? Is that all I am to you? And it just winds off into this like, you see me as an object and not as a woman. And that's really what you got to get to. The more experience that you have with women, the more you're going to realize that's the fear. All they need in order to be sexual is to feel like a woman. Now, I know we're 9 minutes into this and I'm just kind of getting to it, but really what women are saying, right? What women are saying there is that I don't want to be like everybody else. I don't want to be somebody who's not unique. I don't want to be somebody that you do this to all the time. I want to be seen as an individual. And as a man, there's part of us that where we joke around, we go, well, we do this to women all the time. But really, we don't want it to just be a static woman, a faceless woman. We want it to be her. It would feel bad if it wasn't her. So we want her real expression. That's what's going to give our value or the value to the sexual and social interaction. So what we got to think about is like we stated intent. it was partially accepted because she's still standing there, but then there's the resistance of going like, well, wait a minute, and am I just an object? So what we got to do then is move to that third part, which is define, comfort, and relax. Okay, so let's first define it. A lot of times when we're talking to women and we get turned on, or when anybody feels any pressure, but in this situation, it's women feeling the pressure because they're giving us resistance, they define it for us. You don't know us. This is all you think about. You do this to everybody. You just see me as an object. They are now defining the situation for us when that's not the truth, right? This is not even in the range of a man's mind of what he's thinking of, like, okay, you are just an object, or blah, 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 blah. Of course, you might be looking at parts of her body. Of course, you might be getting turned on, but you're not going like, you do this to everybody. You don't even see me as a person. Whatever. You just, want to treat all you think about is sex. All you men think about is sex. It's kind of like an insult, right? So now they've started to define us, so we got to define it. So remember, define, then comfort, then relax. Okay. So we define it. We just say, hey. First off, the first thing I got to do is whatever is causing that pressure, I got to take it away. So I take sex off the table. All right. I take sex off the table and I say, hey, look, man, we don't need to do anything. We can go back to drinking and watching the NBA playoffs or whatever. It's all good. So I want to take it off the table, and I want it to be quick. I don't need to over-explain it. If your explanation lasts more than 5 seconds, then you are doing something wrong. So basically, I say something like, hey, we don't have to do anything. I take sex off the table, then I define what's going on. Look, I'm just having a conversation with you. Why are you making it a big deal? In fact, it was very funny because this guy brought up the movie Vicky Cristina Barcelona over the weekend that I was working with. And he said on his date, they watched it. He's like, that's a great movie. And I said, yeah, man, it's funny because everybody talks about it. And he goes, The Approach. And I was like, man, ever since that movie came out, in PUA circa 2007 or 6 or whatever it was, they were like, you need to be like Javier Bardem. And everybody said it. There were blog articles written about it. There were videos made on it. And never have I seen a guy who's been involved in pickup act like him. But there are a few golden lines that you can take from that movie and just cookie cutter and put out there. And I'll probably botch them because I've said them so many times because they work and kind of made them to my own. But there's one where they're sitting in the hotel after Scarlett Johansson pukes or something like that. And the girl's like, well, what is that? All you want to do is just use me or whatever, or fuck whores? Or is that all you men think about? Literally the line we're talking about. Is that all you men think about is just sex? And all he says is, man, why would you think so lowly of yourself? Or something like that. Why would you look at yourself in such a poor light? I don't see you in that way. All right. So he's redefining it. Okay. So a lot of people see that as a power play. It might be a little bit of that, but I see it more as that definition. Okay. Take sex off the table, re-add the proper definition. And the proper definition a lot of times can just be like, hey, look, we're talking. We don't need to make things too complicated. It's all good. And another one of those lines is in Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And the lady says whatever she says. And he goes, why do you always make things so complicated? She's talking about sex and relationships and what this all has to be. So why do you have to make things so complicated? It's so funny because in old school TSL, there's, it's a long story that I can't get into, but there's a girl that is kind of famous now. That's very attractive, model and so on. And one of the TSL guys hooked up with her, 5 years ago or whatever, when he was involved in 2012, actually. And that's what he said to her. That's how long this line has been used in our circles, is he wanted to make out with her and she gave whatever resistance. And he said, why do you have to make things so complicated? He started making out with her and he hooked up with her and now she's this famous model. Okay. But the thing is that these are all ways to get that definition. Okay. These are all ways where that resistance towards, man, you just want to use me is going to get cut down. Very, very important. All right. So we define it. We define it, man. And again, all we have to do is just say like, hey, I'm just talking to you. I'm just talking to you. This doesn't have to be anything bigger than it is. We go back to watching the NBA playoffs or the different types of tea that are great to drink, when you don't want to stay up all night or whatever it is, that you just go back to a normal conversation. Now, you also want to comfort this, right? And this should all be very quick. I know I'm taking a long time to explain this, but they're distinct points for a reason because we've really got sexual escalation down so much in this whole, it's the sexual life, guys. Come on. So basically, a girl gives you resistance. She goes, wait, stop. Is this all you men want? You guys are pigs. All you think about that is, well, hey, we don't have to do this. Look, we could go back to talking about, crazy weather in Texas, because I just heard thunder and it was bright as fuck earlier today. But anyway, hey, thank you. There's somebody on our Facebook Live saying this shit is gold. Dude, there's so much of this. Tag me on a post later or remind me of this, because there's tons of videos where I break down multiple variations of 6 points of escalation, and it'll make sex such an easy thing, which I'll get to that. I know this is long. I'm sorry. I know this is long because we're going over the social side, but the actual bedroom one, it's so quick, and I'll break that down here in a second. So that we get some resistance, and they say like, you're a pig or you're blah, 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 blah. And we take sex off the table because resistance has happened. That second point, we just say like, hey, look, we're just talking and I'm cool with being a friend. That's all good. But look, I just want you to be yourself. One thing that I say, there's actually a tape. I went to this place this weekend, Bone Daddies. It's a place in Austin, but in like 2010 or 11 or something, I used to record these sets. There's one called Bone Daddy Palazzo, where I pull a waitress from there, and we go to a strip club, and then in the strip club we're hooking up. And it's so funny because when we're hooking up, I do this. And this is, again, this part of comfort and relax area. Now, this was in the strip club when we're hooking up, but this is a good example of it, is that she's like, wait, you do this with everybody or whatever she says. And I say, hey, look, we don't have to do anything. I don't want to be making out with your fears or your reactions. Like we don't have to do anything. So we could just stop. All right. So that was another thing, another kind of cookie cutter line that I would use a lot of times, but it's very true. I do not want to force somebody into sex. I want the most efficient, clean path to be able to get somebody to be themselves and to the person that I believe they are, that they're turned on and that they want to talk to me. And I know that there's this token or resistance, or women see sex differently than men. There's resistance that men have too. So anyway, basically, the thing is that I'll say that I want to comfort. I say, hey, I want you to be you. I want you to be you. So just to step back and kind of go through this whole thing of define, comfort, and then relax it, because the relax means they need to be in a state of relaxation. They need to not be threatened anymore or in tension. All right. And then the real part comes, point 4. All right. The eliciting their intent comes. So just to break this down, we're talking to them. We're like, man, baby, you're sexy as fuck, or whatever you say that trips them. And they go, is this all you men think about? All you think about is sex, blah, blah, blah. And women get in that state and you go, hey, we don't need to do anything. Like, forget I even brought it up. You're totally cool. Let's go back to watching TV and talking about, our amazing politics in America. In any case, look, I like you. I want to get to know you better. And that's the only reason why I'm asking these questions. So I'm trying to define it, right? Redefine it. I like you. There's nothing wrong with me liking you. All right. I like you. Maybe you like me or not, but I'm trying to get to know you better. But like, look, I don't want if this is pissing you off, I don't want to be having a conversation, or let alone even like, if it were to come to it, like date somebody who, because of a reaction or, some fear, like, so just be yourself. It's totally cool. That's good enough, right? That's good enough. Now I've gotten to my intent, which got some acceptance and resistance. And then I define comforted and relaxed. Okay. So that process kind of lowers the guard. And that's really the whole point of it. Now, here's the thing, is that we need to get to the sweet spot. All right. So my problem with all people in the whole seduction world, and where I think people fuck up, is that they try and push escalation to a point where it's forced. All right. And they do it and they overwhelm. It's like, if I do this and touch her here, she'll lose control and just give me her pussy or whatever. And that's great. You can do that. But also, it's not as fast. Okay. It's not as consistent. Okay. When you spike somebody up high, they're bound to go low really quick. So the faster you go high, the faster it can go low. All right. And not always. Of course, you can get it high and keep going, going, going. But a lot of people fuck that up. And the worst part is that it can produce a lot of shame. The quicker a woman makes a decision towards sex or a choice or gets in the state of sex, and even if she likes it and is enjoying it at the time, and then something goes wrong afterwards, maybe you talk shit on her, maybe the sex isn't good, maybe afterwards, because after an orgasm or after you get out of the state of sex, it's very easy for us to regret things. There's so much personal, kind of a topic of a separate podcast, but there's so much that's private about sexuality that it can like really fuck us up. In any case, that all being said, if you go too fast, it's not as efficient, it's not as consistent, it's not as fucking good. And so many pickup guys do that. Like pros, guys like myself. I never got why they didn't figure this out. But here at TSL, we figured it out. All right. And we've done it over and over again. So let's go in the conversation mode where we now want to elicit her response. Because this is where we're going to get the choice. And when we have the choice, we have true investment. And then we can escalate to something else. So very simply, it's like we're in the bar. We touch legs. We're like, hey, oh man, you're hot as fuck. And she goes, is that all you guys think about is sex? And you go, hey, dude, we don't need to talk about anything. Let's go back to watching TV. Look, I like you. You're very cool. You know, I want to get to know you. And the last thing I want is like some, you know, I don't know, you being afraid of me and getting in some weird situation where we become more friends or date each other or something on some fucked up pretense. So, you know, it's all good. Like, I want you to be you, right? Okay. Cool. So we're relaxed. Now we want to elicit her expression. We just say, but look. So this is conversational, right? Because I want her to be her. Men don't understand this concept because we don't think this way. Like, we're like, why would she not think, you know, I see her as an individual or that I do this to everybody? Why would she not think that this is like, this is too weird? So guys don't think this way, but all you have to do is say something along the lines of like, hey, look, I'm not saying this, but if you were somebody that actually did like me or we were close, you know, how comfortable would you be right now? You know, how would you act? What would you do? Actually, ask me something that you've been thinking this whole night, but you wanted to get to know me better. Ask me something like that. See, what I want is I want her to give a real expression of her. Again, guys don't think this way, but I want her to give a real expression of her that is special and unique and her. Because the interesting thing about a woman, and this is so fucked up when it comes to escalation, is there's always something held back. In fact, I'll say this for both women and men. If you're dating a girl and you haven't had sex, you don't know her and she doesn't know you, because there's always something both of you are holding back. Right? And what I need a real expression from her. So I'm actually asking for it now. Now that she spiked up for a second, I calmed her down, I relaxed her and said, hey, I just want you to be you. So I said, but okay, if you were to like me, or you don't have to say this or whatever, but what's something you've been thinking about? Like asking me. It's something that you've been wondering about, but you wanted to get to know me better. And just ask me. I want to know. So I'm really asking her to do something. Now, on the social level, the example I just gave you was social. It's a little bit foggy. And in order to get to know this, you can see it on the sexual level where it's clear night and day. Okay? So, and we'll get to that. But then whatever she gives me, whatever action she takes after that, even if it's a smile that's shy because she can't ask me that, right? She is too afraid to still ask me that. Then I state my intent towards. That's point 5. I say, wow, that's awesome. Man, I like you. Like, look, I don't know. I mean, I know we just met, but if we keep talking in 2 weeks from now, we're going to be something like a lot more than this. And I don't know what that is, but it'll be good. All right. So that's what I would do to state intent towards it. So if we just go down this again, we're being our sexy bad motherfucking self. And we're like, hey, baby, you're hot. She accepts it a little because she doesn't leave and she's there. She kind of likes it, but then there's resistance and she goes, man, is that all you guys think about? You guys are dogs. You don't even know me. You just probably say this to everybody. You say, hey, wait. I'm going to define this, right? I'm going to take sex off the table. Then I'm going to define it. I'm going to say, hey, we don't need to do any of this. Let's go back to like, you know, showing pictures of like our favorite plants in our phone or whatever, our Facebook, whatever bullshit we were talking about before. Like, it's all good. Look, I'm going to define it. I think you're cool. I'm just trying to get to know you. Okay. And the last thing I want is like, I don't know, you being reactive or afraid of me because you think I'm some like animal, man, sex, whatever. But it's all good. It's all good. All right. So kind of getting it relaxed, right? So now we want to elicit her expression. We say, but look, because I want to talk to the real you, like, I already asked you, what you really love to do, but like, man, if you could do whatever you wanted right now in this bar, outside of this bar, whatever it is, but if you could do anything that you wanted, and you didn't have to worry about money, like, what would it be? What would you do right now? Like, who are you? I don't want to hear a front or whatever. I want to hear you. So I'm trying to elicit that expression. And she goes, man, it's a tough question, blah, blah, blah. But she shows her real self. That's all that matters, is that she entertains it in her mind to show her real self. And she's like, yeah, well, you're asking so many hard questions, blah, 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 blah. You're like, hey, a second ago I was being Mr. like misogyny, and now you're saying ask too many questions. I can't win here. And then, but all she needs to do is get that you've seen the real side of her. All right. And then you say, hey, look, I can already tell right now, if we keep talking and 2 weeks from now, we'll be something. We'll either be really close in some way. Friends, maybe lovers, maybe, I don't know, but you're good people. We should continue talking. And that's good enough to escalate. So that's on the social realm, right? That's on the social realm. And if I were escalating in a social realm in a bar, I'd get her number, set up a date, or figure out how to SNL it or whatever. That's how I would make my map of escalation just much slower. But let's say we're in the bedroom where this is going to happen like so fast. And this is where you're going to learn it. This is where you're going to start to have faith in the system. All right? Where you have absolute faith in the system. Boom. We go for a kiss. All right? We go for a kiss. You guys have all heard this before, right? Unless you haven't, which is more the reason why you need to be a fan of what we're doing. So you go for the kiss, and you get it. And as soon as this is so, man, textbook, you can count it like a clock. She gets into it. You press harder. Resistance. So you're making out. That's exactly how I make out. And they're like, oh my God. And then you go, oh, and you get more animal. And she goes, wait, stop. I don't know you. And I got to call my friend, and all this resistance. She start trying to define the situation. She's trying to find a ground that can make sense of the situation because she's in this weird zone that gets triggered by women and all this sort of stuff. And maybe she had some bad experiences in the past. You go, wait a minute. We don't have to do anything. All right. Let's stop. Let's go back to watching TV. And you basically say, look, I like you. You like me. That's all this is. Define, right? Define. I like you. You like me. That's all this is. And we don't have to do anything. So just chill out. Because I want you to be you. I don't want to be kissing your fear or your reaction or anything like that. And they're like, okay. And they start running out of excuses of stuff to say and blah, 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 blah. And then, guess what we do? We then elicit their expression. Now, their expression is so much easier when we're getting physical because all we have to do is say, but look, I'm not going to do anything. In fact, I'll keep my pants on. It's all good. Like nothing needs to happen. But just kiss me how you want to kiss me. Kiss my neck how you want to kiss me. I won't even kiss you back. Because again, we don't get this, but man, it's their expression. We need to get their expression. They think we are faking it and somehow rehearsing this crazy thing. And I know we're actually talking about a rehearsed thing, but they think that we're doing it to objectify them. And we're doing it to actually get good sex, to get to know them, because we're not going to get to know the real them until they actually have sex with us. So we say, kiss me how you want to kiss me. You start kissing our neck. And then we show 0.5, our arousal. And we go, oh my God, that's so fucking hot. Jesus Christ. Like, look at my dick. Oh, fuck. Look at that. And point it out. I always grab it or something like that, or show them through my pants. It doesn't even have to be hard. And then they will feel much better about grabbing it or interacting with it, because then it is theirs. It is their orgasm. It is their erection. It is their arousal, because they just did an action of kissing. Now, if you don't understand it, do it so that you understand it. Then what I would do is I would then take out my dick. I would get naked. I always get naked before the girl does. I'd take out my dick and I'd say, look at this, put your hand on it or whatever. And I'd get them invested in it. And that's how I would escalate. Now, here's what happened this weekend with my buddy. He hooked up with 2 girls. The first girl that he hooked up with, he did all these things. He hit these points of resistance multiple times. And one girl was very quiet and passive and not really sexually interactive, and he didn't like it. And it was the first girl that he slept with, and he was like, Steve, man, I had sex again, and it wasn't that good. Like I said, this guy's getting started in his dating experience. There's so much, there's so much confusion that can happen with sex because it's so personal. It's like, man, I didn't like it. And I haven't been really successful with sex in the past. And maybe I'm just not sexual. And he felt bad for a day. He even felt like he actually said, he's like, man, every time I thought about my dick, it was like, man, it was nothing. But cool thing is, all right, so just know this, guys. When you go through an experience where there's bad sex, you feel shitty, right? And you feel like powerless. Impotent means powerless, right? So you feel powerless. Now, he wasn't impotent in this situation, but it's that same feeling of just, oh, what's the point of it? But we have a drive, right? So thankfully for him, he had a second date or another date lined up the next day. So better, this girl, they're having fun, they're talking, they're engaging. Like he spends like hours hanging out with her, which I told him is, it was too long. When she started bringing up that she loves giving blowjobs, and sex is great, but blowjobs are amazing, and she loves giving them because it makes her feel powerful and blah, 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 blah. You could have gone right to the bedroom, and they were actually like in his apartment complex. So anyway, the thing is that they go up to his place, and she says, I haven't had sex in a while, so I really want to know the next person we have sex with. All right, after they were making out, they got hot and heavy. That was her resistance. So wait. Look, I haven't had sex in a long time. I take it really seriously. I just want to really know the person that I have sex with. It's cool. Take it off the table. We don't need to do anything. Let's define this. Let's comfort it. Let's relax this. Because I want you in a relaxed state. I want you comfortable. So rather than you define it with all your fears of going like, hey, look, it has to be this, and that, and all these requirements, blah, 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 blah. Because that's what we do when we don't know. Men and women. But man, when women get in the state, it's pretty predictable. And then we just say, hey, we don't have to do anything. It's totally cool. Look, I want you. I like you. But I don't want it to be a situation that doesn't feel good. So let's just do whatever. Let's chill out. He got resistance 3 times cycling through this. And I'm not going to break it all down because we're already 30 minutes into this, but he got resistance 3 times. And here's the thing. She was like, no, we're not doing anything. We're not going to do anything. And he actually said, hey, I'll eat your pussy. And she was like, no, my pants are staying on. No. Or I forget all the story, but it didn't go for it, right? And this was his first time. I can't believe he remembered all the 6-point stuff, but he kind of fucked it up with the I'll eat your pussy thing because it's much better. Rather than go like, this is what guys do. This is what pickup guys do. They try and overwhelm girls, right? And he didn't know. I mean, he didn't know, but like pros do this, which I don't get. They'll like get a girl to calm down. They're like, let me just eat your pussy. And then they overwhelm them. And then they fuck them, right? Which can work, but it's slow and inconsistent and causes problems. You don't want that. This will be so fast. So this is how fast it went for him. They're whatever. And so he then did this. He made it real. All right. He made it real. So she was like, look, like the third point of resistance. She's like, look, I like this getting carried away. We should stop. I should go. I like you, but blah, 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 blah. And he said, hey, totally. I feel bad. I just get carried away. But, sex is a big deal for me too. And so he's defining it. He's redefining it again. Sex is a big deal for me too. I told you about my issues. And it's just been a fucked up thing my whole life. And if I ever experience with somebody, I want it to be special. And if it's not special, then forget it, So whatever you are okay with, it's cool. Like, I'm just going to lay here. You can put on your clothes or whatever. And what she did then was she then jumped on him and fucked him. You need to make sex your choice. Okay, this doesn't make sense to a guy. This seems like random shit, like you rolled some dice, but you kept trying. And that is the thing. But you have to know these points on a map. You need to give sex. Rather than put upon somebody, you need to allow them to have a choice. All right. And so what happened there was they were going back and forth. They obviously liked each other. Obviously, she wanted to fuck him. Her body was saying, I want to fuck him. But her mind was saying, this doesn't fit in with all the stuff I've thought about for the last 7 months of having sex with you. This is not what I want. And when he eventually said like, hey, look, I just want you to be you and feel you and experience that, then, hey, we can do it. And the better you get at that, and he was inefficient at it. Right? The whole eating of the pussy thing and doing stuff there, that gets in the way, man. All you need to do is you get the make out or whatever, and this is all I do is just this is all I do, because there's so much that's wrapped around the visualization of the dick or the ownership of the cum or whatever, is that you just say like, hey, we could stop, no big deal, like we don't need to do anything. I don't want to do anything if you're pressured, but look, if you can, just touch me, kiss me, just kiss me. I'm not even gonna do anything. I'll keep my pants on, I'll put the sheets over me, like it's all good. Like we don't need to do shit. She kisses me. She starts getting into it. It takes her 3 seconds, right, to get into it, and then I get into it. And I go, oh fuck, man, look at my fucking dick. Look at my dick through my pants. You want that to be your dick? Like you want that dick to be your dick because of the visualization of the dick. And then I pull it out and I show it to her, and I go, look at that. Tell me you like it. You don't even need to touch it. Tell me you like what it's doing for you. She says, oh yes. It gets all into it. I say, put your hand on it. You can do whatever you want. It's your choice. It's your choice. I am a sexual body for you to do what you want. But once you press that button and turn me on and actually show me that you want to do it, then I'm going to go. Then I'm going to go for it. Man, I still remember to this day, it was so great. I was with this woman and we were going through stuff, and I really liked her too, so I was taking some time with the sexual process. She was already open to it. And I just said to her, I said, look, because I liked her, man. I wanted to connect emotion to my sex. And so I told her, I gave her again the choice, man. I had to get the choice. I had to get to that defined comfort and relaxed area of hooking her emotions into our sex act, because she was already ready for it. I just hadn't stuck my dick in her. She had already like sucked my dick or jerked me off or whatever and all this sort of stuff. But I wanted her to really know that this was important. So I just said, hey, look, we should stop. Like she had already sucked my dick or jerked me off or whatever. It was like the next thing to do is like, she was like, actually, I think she said like, do you have a condom or something? I said, hey, look, we should stop. All right, we should stop. Like if I stick my dick in you, like I don't know what's gonna happen. I gotta really like you. All right. I gotta really like you, and I'm gonna have to take you. I'm gonna have to, give you everything. And she just looked at me. It was the greatest thing, one of the greatest moments of sex in my life. And she goes, then have me. And it was like, okay, boom. You need to give women that choice. And they all want it. I would even say if they go home alone with you, they want you to be good enough to get that choice. And that's how you do it. Anyway, 6 points of escalation, very easy to figure out. Man, for $50, $55 a month at the time I'm recording it, you could get that course. You could get a course on escalation. It would solve your escalation problems forever in your life with the MD Excellence membership. It's just so great. But not only that, you get stuff on relationships, you get stuff on sex, you get stuff on meeting women, you get stuff on rapport. But man, just for sexual escalation alone, for $50, $55, I keep fucking that up. You can get it. It's so easy. Anyway, if you're interested in that stuff, you click the free stuff link down below this in the podcast if you're listening on iTunes, Stitcher, or watching on YouTube. And that'll take you to a page where you can get involved in our Austin Men's Development Board, which is free, our Men's Development Excellence course, which is $55 a month. Cancel anytime. I really, don't mind, but I know you'll like it because there's so much that we involve in it, calls, coaching, all this sort of shit. And there's a bunch of other different podcasts and stuff that we do. So get involved in it. We do this to get involved with people because we like coaching. And it's not just about sex. It's about everything that has to do with men's development. So hopefully we'll see you there. In any case, that's it for this episode.